When a 5-year-old walked into a police station holding this sign, the officers broke down in tears. Screaming sirens, angry mobs, and the rumble of helicopters overhead. It might sound like a scene in a distant, war-torn country, but we're talking about Charlotte, North Carolina, when protests shook the city in 2016. While Governor Pat McCrory announced a state of emergency and called on the National Guard for help, one small boy took matters into his own hands. Jaden Hooker might look like a regular 5-year-old, but according to his mom, Deanna, he's an old soul. He lives with his parents and sister in Charlotte, just a few blocks from where the protest took place. On September 20th, 2016, he heard noise outside his bedroom window. Frightened, he got out of bed. When he called for his parents, Deanna tried to explain what was happening. It must have been hard to tell a child. The trouble started after local police shot Keith Lamont Scott just a few miles away from the Hooker family home. The shooting happened while local police were searching for someone with an outstanding warrant at Scott's apartment building. According to officers, Scott exited a vehicle with a handgun and refused to follow their orders. Scott's wife, who was a witness to the incident, did not agree with that version of events, however. However it happened, nobody disputes what then happened. Officer Brentley Vinson shot Scott dead. Although both the victim and the officer were African American, the shooting increased racial tensions. Scott was the third black man to be shot dead by U.S. police that week. Protesters began to assemble within a few hours, chanting "No justice, no peace," and carrying signs bearing slogans such as "Black Lives Matter," "Stop killing us." Despite a peaceful start, the protests became violent. Indeed, some protesters started throwing water bottles and rocks at the police, who retaliated by deploying tear gas. During the first night of protest, 2 police vehicles were damaged, 1 person was arrested, and 3 staff from local news agency WBTV were attacked. An officer was also injured by a rock. The second night of protest was worse, however. After assembling peacefully at Marshall Park, the crowd became violent by around 8:30 p.m. Throughout the night, they set fires, smashed windows, and looted stores. One young man was shot and later died. Things calmed down by about 3 a.m., but the damage was done. After police used tear gas and rubber bullets to scatter the crowd, the final tally was 9 protesters injured, 44 people arrested, and 5 police officers in need of medical treatment. Living in downtown Charlotte during the protests was obviously frightening and unsettling, especially for young families such as the Hookers. After his mom calmed him down, Jaden went back to bed. He didn't stop thinking about what was going on outside, however. The next day, Jaden asked his mom some more questions. While the news was on in the background, he heard the anchor mention that some police officers were injured during the violence. Upset, he asked if he could skip school. He wanted to pay a visit to the police station. Jaden remembered how frightened he had felt during the protest and thought about how the cops were on the scene must have felt. He wanted to hug them and bring them some donuts. He told his mom he wanted to do this so that they're not so scared. His mom said no, but Jaden didn't give up. Eventually, his parents decided that if he really wanted to, he could visit the local cops, but only after school. As Deanna subsequently explained to CBS News, it kind of opened our eyes and we eventually said yes because it's a beautiful thing. When he finished school for the day, Jaden was excited to visit the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. He picked up some boxes of glazed donuts to bring with him and made a special sign which he hung around his neck. It said, "Free hugs." When his mom's car pulled into the parking lot of the University City Division of Charlotte-Mecklenburg PD, Jaden was ready for action. He proudly walked into the station with his donuts and his sign. Some of the local officers were actually moved to tears by his gesture. The cops weren't the only ones touched by his kind actions. Jaden's mom was moved to tears too. She told CBS, "I'm so proud of my son. I think it honestly shows you that a 5-year-old can teach us a lot about how we should treat each other during times like these." She said that her brave little boy had been raised to understand that if someone hits you, you shouldn't hit back. In her words, hate doesn't do anything but spread hate. It's Jaden's mission to spread love and positivity. As well as offering donuts and hugs to the police officers, Jaden also had some touching words of comfort to share. He said, "I'm happy the police officers didn't get really hurt. I want you to stay safe, and I don't want anybody to hurt you." Deanna was so impressed by her son's generous attitude that she shared the story of her little boy's actions on the Facebook page Love What Matters. It soon went viral. As of February 2017, the post had attracted more than 14,500 likes and had been shared more than 2,000 times. The story even caught the attention of Ken Nwadicki Jr., the guy behind the Free Hugs project. Jaden had seen his videos and was inspired by them. And when Nwadicki saw Jaden's story, he was inspired too. He caught a flight and came to visit Jaden. Jaden was starstruck when he arrived at church on Sunday and saw Nwadicki waiting for him. After covering his mouth in shock, he went in for a hug. Afterwards, he said, "It was a dream come true to meet Ken, and he's kind of my hero." After giving so many free hugs, donuts, and words of appreciation to the cops, Jaden definitely deserved a nice surprise of his own. As his mom said, this is love in its purest form and what our world needs right now. She also summed up pretty much everyone's thinking, adding, "He's a very cool kid." Please don't forget to share this video with your friends below.